The topic I want to touch on today is this issue of Raila attacking President Ruto. He's gone back to, not even back, he's gonna step down from calling him my younger brother. He would avoid calling him president. Now he's resolved to calling him Zakayo. He's also attacked the ministers. And people are wondering why this sudden bile. Could something have happened that is causing the former prime minister to start changing his stance towards the president? Now, if you ask me, this is just another game that Kenyans need to look beyond. How can Ruto be seeking a job for Raila at the AU and Raila is here attacking him? It's quite obvious the two gentlemen, they met at some corridor and Ruto told him, bwana, na umenyamaza sana, ongea watu wasione we're in a handshake era. Sometimes it's good not to buy into some of these things. Personally, I don't believe that Raila has any bile towards President Ruto or that President Ruto has any bile towards Raila. This is just another gimmick, and personally, I don't buy it. I don't see any probable cause for such an attack other than to just to save face from Raila Odinga especially, because there's this narrative that is always being bought. Handshake with Uhuru Kenyatta, nusu mkate with Kibaki, AUC with President Ruto, so he's trying to save face. Now, let's assume I'm wrong, that this is not just another ploy to waste Kenyans' time. Let's assume there is actual reason for him to be very bitter with Kenyans. Now, what might inform some of those reasons? The first one, the Islamic states in Africa, around 20, have come together to say that they will vote for the Somali candidate. Now, that automatically just kills Raila's chances. The moment people start segregating on matters of religion, he won't stand a chance because you need 2/3 to get there. Could that have informed this certain outrage? It could be, perhaps. The second, Raila believes, as he has always believed, that now is the best time to campaign and defeat this incumbent president. He found Kibaki to be weak, he campaigned against him and lost. 2017, when he ought to have handed over the mantle to somebody else, he felt Uhuru was at his weakest, he campaigned against him and lost. Now, because he's seeing Kenyans are very much against this housing issue, very much against SHIF, even there's this new bill that the president has signed that a police officer, when they want your license, you have to produce it there and then. Unlike back in the day when it was 4 days or within 4 days or 5 days, now you have to produce it or get a 10,000 shilling fine. Also, a police officer can enter inside your vehicle and instruct you to drive to the nearest police station, and you'll have to do it. You can't record anymore as people are doing in the past. Now, if you record, you go behind bars. These are very unpopular laws that are being passed. And could it be that it is tempting Raila to come back because he's seeing this guy is creating a very fertile ground to be removed from office? I can only draw that conclusion if this attack is sustained. Pardon me. If this attack is sustained, it cannot just take place on a Sunday and then he goes quiet for another 2 months. Those are games that they're playing with Kenyans, and personally, I don't buy it. Now, let me see some of the comments here. The Aviator Master is saying, this guy has realized that he is not qualified. In fact, he is not qualified. But the last fellow to serve there is just as unqualified as he is. So qualification in Africa is not even a thing to discuss. We've had someone with a diploma, yet they're asking for masters. All right. Eleuthero Kenya said, hello, David. Hello, Eleuthero. That's a very interesting name. Eric Avram is saying, stop abusing Uhuru Kenyatta. Who has even talked about Uhuru Kenyatta? I think you just joined the stream to troll. But that's okay, it's your right. Anyway, The other topic I wanted to talk about was this issue of Tawe, of Governor Natembeya. Now, one thing people must know, especially in Kenya Kwanza, Natembeya is not uniting the 5 Mulembe counties for the purpose of helping Kenya Kwanza to get there. When you listen to him, he's always talking about mmoja wetu akue pale, backed by the whole community, so that they have a strong voice and they can get their share at the table, as opposed to two bureaucrats being there, Musalia and Wetangula, and then they are getting positions for themselves and nothing for the Mulembe nation. That sounds good on paper, but it's not tenable. It's not feasible. Why do I say this? I say this because let's assume Natembeya succeeds. He rallies all the people behind him from Mulembe nation and crosses the aisle and goes to Kenya Kwanza in 2027. Which positions will he be securing for his community? All the PSs have been appointed. All the CSs have been appointed. All the ambassador positions have been filled. CSs have already been gazetted, they're already in office. All right? What will he be able to take back home? Nothing. So it's not that what he's doing is wrong, but he's a smart guy. He's talking about how he can sit at the table with Ruto and Gachagua and, get the shares for the community. Why is he doing that? He's doing that to prevent government retaliation. Because right now, Ruto is seeing him galvanize the people, and they don't know, is he doing it for us, for himself, or is he going to cross the aisle to Kalonzo and Joho in 2027? My personal belief is that the money is on Natembeya, galvanizing Mulembe nation and moving them to whatever formation will exist at the time. I believe Azimio will be dead by then, as is always the case. I'm not hating because NASA died, Azimio came, Azimio will go, a new formation will come. That is the end game there. So those in Kenya Kwanza, that is why you're seeing this frenzy. They are really feeling warm-bellied when Natembeya is talking about this issue of Tawe. Mufunte is saying DW Raila never left at all. For the life of all of us, Baba cannot stand alone. Standing ahead of him, as I don't understand. David, I have just joined. Why is Baba attacking the president? He's just looking for an opportunity. I've covered that extensively. Fortunately, this will be saved on the live, so you can always rewatch what you missed. His interests has just changed and now shows Kenyan how they are in his heart. Ruto refused to give him the right to usher in African heads of state to the IDA summit, and now is better. Don't buy into this beef in between the two gentlemen. I do not believe there is any problem between Raila and Ruto. This is how politics is. These people are friends. They can say whatever they want to say on stage, but they will laugh together. Like this IDA summit you're talking about. Go watch the video. Who was sitting behind President Ruto? It was Raila Odinga. While on that table, it was President Suluhu Hassan, Museveni, the Somalian president, all these people. And Raila was invited, and he was part of Ruto's entourage. Because every president is bringing their people to the function. So there's no beef whatsoever in between the two. I don't buy it. I will only believe it if this attack of Raila on President Ruto is sustained. Let him not do it once. I want to see it severally. Then I'll draw the conclusion that there is something there. Julius Okelo is saying there is nothing like Mulembe Nation. There is only one Kenya. That's what you ought to be promoting. I am not a politician. I have nothing to promote. I can only analyze what is there. So if a politician shows up and talks about a nation, we will analyze what he's talking about. So that is best addressed to Natembeya, the only Kenyan today who is talking about communities. Natembeya, like, Drop me a comment, guys, especially if you have a question. I'd like to answer it on this live. Becca Wungu is saying Natembea will not go beyond Kiminini to the rest of Luya land. Let's wait and see. He is gaining traction, actually, but let's wait and see. Julius Okelo, why can't Kenyans open their eyes? James Inzomberi, Maandamano killed many people. Who was the initiator? Have we forgotten that? Have we? LVG is asking an interesting question. What do you think Kalonzo needs to do better to win the presidency or to build some serious political capital? For Kalonzo Musoka, first let's just unpackage Kalonzo Musoka. He's a veteran in politics. He's been there since he was a young guy. That is why he's the de facto leader of the Akamba nation. Number two, he has very close proximity to the presidency. So he has some relevance. He was once the vice president of Mwai Kibaki, twice the running mate of Raila Odinga. So you can see the man is very key in opposition politics. So he's well packaged. The only problem is communication. If you cannot communicate, it is just, you'd better sell products, not a service. If you're vying for president, you're seeking to render a service to Kenyans. And if you can't communicate, it won't turn out very well. So for Kalonzo Musoka, the only thing he can do to get there is to pick a young candidate, vibrant, loved by the people, and who can give electrifying speeches, which is the one thing Kalonzo cannot do. He can ride on that wave. And at the same time, he can just hope that Kenya Kwanza continues with these policies which are not people-centric, like the housing levy, the SHIF, the new bill the president signed, which gives police more powers to harass Kenyans, if you ask me. And when we talk about a deputy, what are the best options for Kalonzo? Personally, this early, I can tell you it is going to be Kalonzo and Joho. People have talked about Oparanya, but if we are going to field Oparanya, what's the point? We might as well have Raila Odinga. They are both senior citizens. They are age mates. If you're going to nominate Oparanya, then you cannot sustain the narrative of saying Raila is too old, aachie mtu mwingine. So Oparanya for me is null and void. The only person who fits the bill should be Ali Hassan Joho because he has the money. Number two, he is young. He's the next de facto leader of ODM. In fact, he started paying off the Bunge la Wananchi. They are 100% behind him. Kelele ya Joho, you can already start hearing it. I even saw Gaucho in Joho's G-Wagon just the other day in Mombasa. So for Kalonzo to do well, all he has to do is pick a deputy who can supplement what he lacks, which is charisma. And Joho can do that. Oparanya can't. He's even worse than Kalonzo. Julius Okelo is asking, why is Ruto's priority right now fulfilling a state visit to the US? What does Kenya expect from the US? And there is serious floods in Kenya. What does Kenya expect from the US? More of what we've been getting. A lot of grants have been coming from the US. Unlike China, China loans us. America gives us grants. The only problem with American grants is that it comes with a lot of baggage. They want you to pass LGBTQ at the Supreme Court and so on and so forth. And if you ask me, part of the reason Biden is inviting President Ruto is that for the first time, he is looking at an African leader who is a bit like him. I tend to believe both leaders are socialists in that they do extra taxation to help those who are at the bottom, basically bottom up. It's also what Joe Biden is doing in the United States of America, where we have food stamps and whatnot. Here we are also doing the housing levy, which is a law to help build affordable homes. We are doing SHIF for all Kenyans to help get health coverage for any and all. So I believe that tandem line of reasoning is what has drawn Joe Biden to President Ruto, the bottom-up agenda. Mohammed Ndia is saying, my biggest fear is watching Ruto serving another 5 years. Quite an interesting take. What do you fear about it mostly? Clinton Zach saying Natembeya will become the next big thing in Western. That could be true, but being the next big thing in one small region is a small dream. He needs to scale up. Pastor Ken Nyaga, Jambo sir, I follow your content, sana. Thank you, Pastor Ken. Wakahora Wangai, what do you think of Rigiji Tiff with Nyoro? Is there a hand of Ruto? That was resolved a long time ago. There's no beef there. Amos Saina, Raila is afraid if he loses a AU job, his popularity will decline. The narrative will be, nani alikuibia kura ya AU? You're right. He could be just ensuring as he's leaving to go campaign for the AU, he's leaving some small presence behind so that he can fall back in case something goes wrong. Now, the problem for Raila is that if he loses AU, there's nothing left for him. Because back home, remember the NADCO report, which we had back here? If that had passed, Raila could have something to lean back on. Because if the AU vote goes south, he comes back, the NADCO passed, it's a law now, there's the office of opposition leader. He can become that and enjoy some bit of power. But it was stopped at the High Court. So there's no office of opposition leader here at home, and if there's no AUC, kimeumana, that will be it. James in Zomberi is saying Kenya politics like people who have charisma. Kalonzo can't make it. He doesn't have what it takes. On his own, he can't, but with the right running mate, he might put up a fight. He might. Okelo is asking, why is Kenya not giving grants? Because we are knee-deep in debt. We owe around 12 trillion to the IMF and other loaning countries like China. So you can't give when you don't have. Julius Okelo is saying, you are wrong about Biden. What am I wrong about him? Is he not a socialist? Charles Muring is saying, David, honestly, Raila is in good terms with President Ruto. His speech in normal politics, and of course, being an opposition chief, what do you expect? Exactly. He's doing what he's supposed to do as opposition leader, so there's no malice there. He'll end up, in this new month we've started, I expect to see Ruto and Raila together one more time, or if not twice. All right, guys, if there's no more questions, I'd like to end the live. If there's a topic you want me to handle, now is the time to let me know. Before KPLC wafanye ile kitu, they're very tricky during this period. Actually, that's why I've been away. I was supposed to work on Friday, I couldn't. Saturday we were still in darkness, so I chose to do a small travel within this country of ours. All right, Julius, ask your question. You're saying you have one more. Wahora is asking, where do you see Musalia Mudavadi as he continues to stay with Ruto and push to fold his party? The politics of Musalia Mudavadi will be done and dusted by 2032. As Ruto goes home, Musalia Mudavadi is part of the people who will be going home with him. Because there's one thing Natembeya said. When Ruto was in high school, Form 3 or 4, I don't know if he had Form 6 at his time, but let's assume they had Form 6, it doesn't matter. At that point, Musalia Mudavadi was a minister. Now, the same Ruto was in Form 6, has finished Form 6, he has become president. He is still appointing Musalia Mudavadi as a minister. Anyone who is thinking about a Musalia Mudavadi presidency is bonkers. We'd better even talk of Natembeya, if you ask me. Will Sakaja survive in 2027 gubernatorial seat? Sakaja might make it. He might make it. And the reason he'll make it is that Nairobi is too lucrative to hand over to the opposition. Already Sakaja has the added advantage of being the incumbent. If UDA makes the blunder of changing the candidate and giving somebody else a ticket, they won't make it. Already Nairobi is an Azimio stronghold. ODM runs Nairobi. They have always been the majority, even in the county assembly. So if they do change Sakaja, it will be a colossal mistake. Okelo is saying Musale is simply surviving. Yes, I do agree with you. Let me see if there's any question I did not answer before I end the live. Yeah, that's it. But trust you me, Sakaja is very likely to survive. The amount of money in Nairobi, assuming we had any Azimio candidate winning the Nairobi gubernatorial seat, the maandamano you would have seen could be sustained for years. Did you listen to the video of Mike Sonko being interviewed by Andrew Kibe, where he talked about 50 million Kenya shillings being brought to his office every day as bribes? Sometimes 45 million, sometimes 50, sometimes 55, 60. That's the amount of money that is in Nairobi. And that is why there's a lot of in-house fighting amongst the politicians to already replace Sakaja this early. The people are salivating. Babu Owino is campaigning. Tim Wanyonyi is campaigning. Edwin Sifuna is attacking Sakaja night and day to just soften the soil for whoever in ODM will pick the seat. So Nairobi is too big. People cannot allow it to slip to the other side. It's a good question. Let me do this, then I can end the live. David, what do you think President Ruto is thinking about the performance of some of his cabinet ministers anyway? He must be very disappointed in the likes of, what do you call him, Mythical Inturi. Mythical Inturi, to be honest, is a disappointment to all Kenyans. This is not politics at your Azimio, Kenya Kwanza. But when I look at the National Assembly, I saw Kimani Ichung'wah passionately defending the CS. I was a bit disappointed with that. It looks like Kenya Kwanza will be looking to rescue him. But if we are to be fair, you cannot play with the backbone of this country. Agriculture is all we have. We don't produce cars, we don't produce drones or planes or warships. None of that. Even pens. Okay, pens we do produce. Let me not digress, but food production, we export a lot of food. We need a lot, like farmers. Mlima Kenya, that is the topic. Wale wa majani chai, wale wa kahawa in Western. So for him to start giving people fake DAPK and going on Citizen to say it is not fake, it is substandard. Those games have gone too far. Margaret is asking, will Murkomen survive till 2027 without being impeached? Yes, he will. He will survive. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining the stream. Sorry I couldn't be with you. KPLC really tampered with our workflow. But from here on out, I think I'll do a live today, one more tomorrow, and from Monday we'll go back to the usual 3 to 4 posts a day. And with that, adios.